Hi, this is Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. Today, December the 7th, 2016, marks the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor Day. During the 1930s and 40s, there was so much unrest globally. And the United States, which was weary not too many years after World War I of getting pulled back into another global conflict, had resisted time and again any calls from others around the world for us to get engaged. And in fact, while we were helpful to those that were involved in this conflict that became World War II, we ourselves in the United States were not that involved. And yet, on this day, December the 7th, the Japanese Air Force had decided that they were going to destroy the Pacific Fleet. They knew that if the United States were to ever stop their desire in the Western Hemisphere, the Eastern Hemisphere, I should say, to basically take over and control that part of the world, it was going to be the United States that would do it. And so they decided that the best way to keep that from happening, and maybe even to convince the United States to lift some of the sanctions and the embargoes that had been placed against them, Japan, they would destroy our Pacific Fleet. Because it was so close to who we are and where we were relatively undefended. There was no belief that the Japanese would actually do something like this. And so after months of preparation, they came and they found us largely undefended. And on that morning, we found ourselves under attack. It ultimately took the lives of more than 2,400 men, more than 1,000 others that were injured. There were 20-some ships that were sunk. 300 planes were destroyed. There was incredible devastation. It was absolute mayhem. This is something that happened just 75 years ago. The number of men and women who have put their lives on the line to stand for freedom, to defend this flag and what it represents, the greatness of America, was under attack that day. As our President Roosevelt at that time said, this is a day that will live in infamy. And indeed, it has been an infamous day ever since. I encourage you, please, take a moment to learn more. Teach this to your children, to your grandchildren. Make sure that you take a moment to stop and remember the sacrifice. There are even now in Kentucky still men alive who were there on that day, Kentuckians who were there defending us against enemies, foreign, and in this case, sometimes domestic. The bottom line is this. History does repeat itself. It's our responsibility to make sure we're aware of history in some measure so that we don't make the same mistakes that we've made in the past. Please encourage people to learn, to honor and respect the sacrifice that has been made, and to make sure we share this information with the next generation, because we are Kentucky.